How I would fix World of Warcraft. A response to Asmongold. Okay, so we're watching a response. We're responding to a okay, you know what? Yeah, let's see this video, guys. How I would fix World of Warcraft.
Asmongold created a big controversy on the internet when he shared his 3 ideas on how he would fix World of Warcraft.
Wait, reset all spells and remake classes with 10 spells or less. Remove all raiding difficulties except for 40-man raiding. And remove all add-ons from WoW. I will say this second one here, dude. 40-man raiding. Listen, 40-man raiding is fun, but managing and setting up a 40-man raid is the absolute worst thing I can think of, okay? Like that, I hate it. I do not like it. I think for me personally, 20-man raiding is like peak. Dude, it's not small enough where you feel like you're doing a dungeon, but it's also not big enough where it becomes really annoying to deal with. I feel 20 people, it's perfect raid size. For me at least, when it feels like, it still feels like a raid, right? I would love to see number 3, remove all add-ons from WoW. Actually, I've been playing retail WoW, like Dragonflight lately, and I just have damage meter and DBM. That's literally it. That's all I got. Maybe I'll end up having more add-ons than that, but currently that's literally all I'm running with, right? In retail, there aren't many classes specs that use the more 10 spells in the primary rotation. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a ton of spells and stuff like that, but let's continue the video regardless. DPM is huge. That is true.
Now I made
10 spell is a little bit too little. Is that supposed to be Asmongold? Okay.
a response video to these Asmongold ideas where I walked through the woods, I shared my thoughts on each one.
Okay.
And in that video, I said, hey, if you guys would like to hear maybe my own ideas of how I'd fix WoW, let me know in the comments section below. Not only did you guys say, yeah, Nixium, if you think you're so smart, why don't you share your ideas? Cool. But even Asmongold himself, when he reacted to this video, said that he would like to see my ideas. So here's what we're gonna do.
I'll sit over here.
Number 1, I'm going to be talking about the modern game, aka Dragonflight. I'm not going to be talking about Season of Discovery, Classic, Hardcore, none of that. Let's just focus on the modern, up-to-date game. And the second thing I want to establish before I start is that Asmongold said 3 things. So I'm going to limit this video to 3 ideas as well.
Cool.
And I would actually encourage anybody who wants to make a response video to this video to share your own 3 ideas of how you would fix WoW. There's really no wrong answers. It's just, what do you guys think would be cool if Blizzard added to the game? What do you think would help? And the last thing I want to establish is in the previous video, I talked about Asmongold's ideas already. We talked about endgame raiding. We talked about add-ons and stuff. I don't want to cover the exact same topics again. So these are going to be 3 completely different ideas from what I talked about in that response video. So all that said, let's talk about my ideas for how I would fix World of Warcraft, and you guys can let me know what you think down in the comment section. Before I do start,
give us the ability to spam raids like we can spam Mythic Plus. I don't know if that's a good idea personally. What's up? Let's just go.
Quick shout out to this
one idea to fix WoW is to burn it. What the hell, man?
Channel sponsor Zygor, linked down below in the description. It's World of Warcraft's ultimate add-on, and if you use code Nixium, you can get 20% off. Anyway, let's dive in. Let's talk about it. Number 1. The first thing I want to talk about is modern World of Warcraft's early game. It is absolute garbage. If you are a new player and you are coming to the game for the very first time, or you are somebody, you're trying to get your friend to try World of Warcraft, you and I both know that the early game experience can be a huge turnoff for new players.
Can be very much.
The content is outdated. The story can be so confusing for new.
Yeah, we recently watched a video about a guy getting into, like a big content creator getting into World of Warcraft for the first time, and he was very much not enjoying the beginning experience. But I think something that Blizzard is working on doing is I think they're gonna try to make Dragonflight, so like the current expansion, like the introduction if you're a new player, right? So instead of getting thrown into BFA for whatever reason, you get thrown into Dragonflight, which means you get caught up to date with what's happening. Yeah, day 9, exactly.
People, if Blizzard wants to continue to bring new players into the modern game, you have to create a good, strong, and appealing, you know, early game experience. So this is just my idea of something that I would do. I think that if you play through the old world, if you're a night elf and you start in Teldrassil, there's just no challenge. If you do tutorial island, I mean, doing it for the first time is fine, but then the second and third time, it's just repetitive, it's linear. I would create a third option to these two choices, a third option that every new player would be forced to play through, and it's just simply a Chromie-led quest line. What it is you would play through a quick lore-driven campaign led by Chromie, who would bring you up to speed on all the previous expansion lore. You would start...
This could be a way of doing, but dude, this would be hard to do well, right? This would be really hard to do well, because it's 20 years of expansions, right? Instead of thinking for the 11 months. VOD XPing with objectives and items, which gives XP was best. VOD was actually great, it was a fun experience, but there's just so many different storylines, right?
At level 1, you would start in just the regular world, then you would move to TBC, Wrath of the Lich King. She explains what happened during the War of the Lich King. You do a couple of quests, whatever, and then you move on to the next expansion. And
I don't know, man, this would be too much. Like, having to, like, okay, now we're in Elven Forest or wherever in Vanilla for, like, 5 levels, 10 levels. Oh, now you're in TBC. Okay, 5 levels here. Now you're in Wrath, 5 levels there. You will never get really into either of them. It's just gonna be confusing, right? Like, and I don't really think people care about, let's go through 20 years of lore, right? I think what would be good to do is like just do the current thing that's happening, right? Like the Dragonflight. If Dragonflight is current, send them to the Dragonflight place and then do that, because that's current, right? In Classic, if you load into your area, you would go explore. Yeah, it's different.
Riot.
Bring back Bonk. You love that emo, don't you, Dildozer? Thank you for the 28 months. If people really want the lore, that's what the WoW wiki is for. I don't think people care about the lore. They just want to play the game. Yes, that's what I mean. And that's why I'm saying bringing them into the current expansion and then leveling through the current expansion gets them up to date with what's currently going on, right? So if they they get to learn the new zones that they're about to play in, right? Because nobody that's like leveling like in retail WoW, like currently, they're not gonna be running around in Elven Forest and stuff afterwards. They're gonna be running around in the Dragon Isles, right? That place. Or whenever we get to War Within, they're gonna be running around in Dorne in that place, right? So they should send new players to that area. Let them go through the zones and level through the zones that they're about to spend their time in the game. Not old shit, right? Because nobody wants to go through 20 years of lore. I don't want to boot up the game and get dragged around a 50-hour boring exposition dump where Chromie talks to me. Exactly. Right? Like, dude, I'm just thinking from my own, like, thought process. If I were to be thrown into, like, a game that I've never played before, here's 20 years of lore that we're gonna explain to you fast. No, I just want to play the game, right?
She just completely brings you up to speed with where is World of Warcraft today. And with each fade in to a new expansion, a new time period in World of Warcraft, this is when you would get some new abilities on your action bars, the quests that you would do in these various expansions that introduce you to a little bit of its lore. You know, that allows you the opportunity to try out these new abilities and what they can do. And that's really it. And it's a quest line that would be expanded on with each new expansion. That way a new player doesn't jump into the game very confused. And if they decide to make an alt one day,
I think that would confuse people more though.
They're like, man, I really liked that Wrath of the Lich King, like Chromie introduction. A war against a Lord of Undeath? That sounds cool. Well, then a new player can make an alt, so they can hop on over to Chromie in Orgrimmar or Stormwind, and they can do Chromie time and just go and level up in Wrath of the Lich King if that's what they want to do. This would be an extremely fast quest line, though. It's something that should probably only take an hour to do, so you'd be leveling very quickly, possibly, you know, in stages where every time you fade in and fade out, you're going from like level 10 to 20 to 30, something like that, or maybe every 5.
This would stress me out as a new player. An hour to go through 9 expansions of lore quickly.
Levels,
no,
whatever.
This would be so stressful.
It'd be a very quick quest
Rashi,
line.
thank
so
you.
maybe
What's up,
you guys think that's cool, maybe not, but this is really my main reason why I think this would be a cool idea. One, because new players tend to be very confused when they hop into World of Warcraft because they got like a million freaking expansions of lore to catch up on. So giving them a little nugget of each expansion I think would be kind of cool. Two, because it allows a new player to level up a new character relatively quickly so that they can just jump into the latest content. By the way, this Chromie questline would end with you on the continent of whatever the newest expansion is. So that's my idea there.
Okay, that could make sense. I mean, that you would go to the newest expansion. That's my biggest takeaway with it, right? Personally, I don't care about the lore in an MMO. If I'm interested, I'll check YouTube or something. I think that's how most people feel, right? And then if anything, you play like a game like Final Fantasy, where the lore is a very centric point of it, right? That's the lore in FF14 is a big part of the experience of the game. But that's not really for WoW, I feel like.
The third reason why I would do this is because the early game in World of Warcraft is technically supposed to like teach you your class, introduce you to the mechanics of the game, so on and so forth. And the current early game model doesn't really do this. Instead, it's just a bunch of just very simple quests or a lot of dungeon spamming and LFG. So I think just having a big quest line that introduces you to your class mechanics, the lore of the game and the story so far, and then it just drops you onto whatever the new expansion is. Let's just say it's Dragonflight, you're boom dropped onto the Dragon Isles, and then you can really go out into the Dragon Isles and play with all your new abilities, and that's when you really learn the class and how it's played. I just think that'd be kind of cool. And
I think doing some sort of an introduction like they have with Exile's Reach, and then afterwards throwing you into the current expansion would be the move. Instead of like, okay, here's Exile's Reach, BFA for some reason afterwards, right? They could do an evolution of the class through all the expansions. My balance tutor was trash in Classic. Also, you go through all the you go through all the mental breakdowns of the expansions. Yeah, that could be great.
To be fair, this could also be a one-time thing because, you know, you would level up a character so quickly by doing it. So maybe after doing it once, you would then only have Tutorial Island and normal leveling. So it's kind of like getting a, you know, easy sort of almost max level character, if that makes sense. So hopefully I did that idea justice. I know it's a little bit complicated as an idea, so hopefully
it will be difficult to do well, I think.
But anyway, let's just dive into the second point.
Okay.
The second thing that I feel would fix World of Warcraft, or at least really help it, is by creating a new end game progression path. So currently the formula is you hit end game and you either do PvE, PvP, or you just go on a full collector's spree with achievements, pets, mounts, or whatever. I would actually add a new progression path with this that kind of combines potentially all of these things together, and I would call it player housing. Now, how the heck would PvP and player housing go together? Well, let me explain. So Blizzard has instanced technology in World of Warcraft nowadays.
Player housing could be cool if done well, but, you know, yeah, again, I think Final Fantasy has it pretty successfully the way they do it, I think. I think there's like some sort of a thing where if you don't play for a while, your house gets sold or some shit like that. I'm not sure, but they have it done pretty okay.
As we all know. And they have a huge world with tons of open areas where a person could potentially build their house. We've experimented with the garrison system and blah, blah, blah. This is all possible. There could easily be various plots located in Azeroth, Kalimdor, Outland, Northrend, whatever, where people can build for themselves.
Yeah, what was that thing in Legion called that people were really excited about? Class auto halls or something? I think that was pretty cool, right? Class halls, right? Like I think people really like that.
House, or better yet, not just a house, but almost like a little tiny fortress, kind of like the garrison system, but with a lot more customization. I think it would be cool if Blizzard gave us the ability to choose a plot of land, let's just say in Howling Fjord, for example. And not only can you, build a little home there, but you can mess with the terrain, you can decorate the land however you want, trees, you can put down walls, you can build like a stable. I think that would be great. To keep
this would almost have to be instance though, right? Because I mean, I don't know. I don't really know how Final Fantasy does it, so I can't really speak too much on that, but I know people are happy the way that they do that.
Simple, through various like new professions or just new ways you can gather materials for your base to build up little buildings like a stable, like a tavern or whatever. You're limited to maybe several buildings that you can put in one spot, but there's tons of little things that you could put everywhere, from a signpost to fences, whatever you want. And of course, all of the things that you could potentially collect for this, plot of land could also be found out in the world. I mean, if you kill a boss, for example, like you killed Argus, you could actually cut off Argus's head and you could mount it in your hall or in your little...
This just sounds like garrisons to me. I'm gonna be real. I think Final Fantasy, again, I don't really know how it works specifically because I've only played Final Fantasy for like 5 hours, right? But I think in Final Fantasy, there's actual houses in cities that people can buy, yes. And you can actual real estate, right? I'll just put my house over the choicest resource nodes. Yeah. Final Fantasy's implementation is bad. It's not instanced. Well, I think that's the point that makes it cool that it's not instanced, though, right? It makes it more difficult to acquire a thing, though, but that's the cool part of it, right? I think they just need to overhaul the garrison system to fit this model. Yeah, I think so. I mean, garrisons had big potential, but they fell a little bit short with it, I think.
Home or put it in your basement or something. You can really do whatever you want with it. Quest rewards out in the world could reward things like a little lamppost, or it could reward a fence object. It could reward a rock, like, you know, just like a boulder, like, you know, whatever you want to do. I think it would also be cool to bring back the recruiting NPCs idea from Warlords of Draenor to sort of populate your base as it gets bigger. And of course,
it just sounds like garrisons.
More buildings and stuff, this would allow you more NPCs that you could potentially bring into your little base that you're constructing, or you could just leave it as a single little house like out in the woods, and it's just you and that's it. That's fine. These NPCs would just wander around. They would swing at training dummies, assuming that you put some in your little area. They'll just interact.
That's not housing anymore, it's building a fill camp. Yeah, it's essentially garrisons, because that's what garrisons was, right? You had a little land plot. You couldn't really choose where it was, but you could upgrade it. You had like all your people around, you sent them on missions and stuff like that.
Or turn on lanterns at night, turn them off in the morning, things like that. But I think what would really
the NPC quests were weird.
This World of Warcraft housing really shine is, and I admit I'm totally taking a little bit of inspiration from Hearthfire here from Skyrim. But make it so that you can talk to maybe an NPC or something in your, you know, house, or just something, maybe like some object, and you can actually have your home be attacked by mobs. It could be Defias bandits, it could be dragons, it could just be like...
This sounds very difficult to do on an MMO scale, though, okay? Like, this is very ambitious. This sounds like more like an RPG kind of a thing, right?
Some local NPCs from the zone
like garrisons,
that you're in. In a way. Silver Pine Forest, for example, it's a bunch of Worgen. You could even like progress in pillars of difficulty, eventually leading to big giant bosses that will come to try to genuinely destroy your home. Like, you're rolling the dice here, they will knock down your walls, and those walls are destroyed. They'll knock down that lantern, and that lantern's destroyed. Not my lantern! So you gotta protect your home, and these PvE encounters will get harder and harder. You'll need to get your friends involved to, you know, bring them to your house. You're all like fighting valiant.
I don't think, in terms of fixing World of Warcraft, I don't think this would do it. I think, honestly, the way that they've been going in the direction... I think sounds kind of cool, man. Like, just make sure the raids are good, make sure the open world is fun with the areas, make sure the dungeons are fun and intuitive and enjoyable, and then have some sort of a PvE like thing outside raiding and dungeons that you can do kind of solo, like the delve system hopefully turns out to be. I think then you're looking at a pretty good MMO. Fun raids, fun dungeons, good PvP, and then like some sort of a single solo thing you can do, right? I think that makes for a pretty good MMO.
To defend your home against a
good open world,
giant Yeti that's attacking you in the Ultric Mountains, like, yeah. You could even build like defensive structures for your home, like, I don't know, like a catapult,
sounds more like a survival game
tower to really help, you know, defend your home. Then the best part is, if you kill that giant Yeti, you collect, you know, some giant Yeti pelts or whatever.
Why do you have strong opinions on retail if you don't even play the game? Well, because I like the game, and I mean, I've been playing it for a while. I just have like a lot of pauses in playing it. I mean, I recently got into trying it out again.
You know, rugs for your home, and only the people that built their home.
And like, I've always been a WoW player. It's not like I've never like played retail before. I never played the current WoW before. I played pretty much every new expansion. I just don't play for very long. I've been playing it the past few days. I played at the beginning of Dragonflight. I played in Shadowlands for quite a while as well. I've been playing it.
In Ultric Mountains, or like a really big snowy zone or something,
you know?
Only they can get that item. So they can then go and take it to the auction house if they want and trade it to other people. Like, oh, this guy's got like Arctic Yeti fur, dude. Like, I'll buy that for a couple of gold for my cool house in Grizzly Hills or something. But something really crazy would also like be queuing up your home to be attacked.
Playing at launch and then quitting is not playing the game. Okay, sorry. I'll try to play the game better. I apologize.
By players. Players could come in and it can either be a 5v5, 5v10, or
Listen,
5.
you don't have to play World of Warcraft permanently to be a WoW player. You can come back and forth to the game. You can play the game for a few weeks, a month, then you can quit for a little bit, come back and play when you want again. There's nothing wrong with playing WoW like that. Same thing with Classic WoW. Come in, play Classic WoW for a little while, do the raids, level up. Then if you don't want to play anymore, wait a little bit for new content, try it again. Do some other games here and there. I think that's fine to do it. That's a fine way of playing the game. You know, makes you more excited to come back for it, right? I think that's completely okay. Is the pre-patch in Kata fast leveling or something? They are revamping the world and then like new talent systems and stuff like that, right? There's a reason why some players don't play retail and they're allowed to have opinions on how to improve the game. Of course, I mean, I think it's fine. And if anything, I think it's quite healthy having these discussions. And if you look at it this way, okay, in your mind, I'm a person that doesn't play retail WoW, so I'm not allowed to have an opinion. But if I'm a person that used to play it quite a bit and then I don't play it anymore, what would be the reason for me not playing it anymore? And I can have a discussion about that, and then we can talk about, okay, like what would make you come back to the game, right? I think it's a fine discussion to have, and it's quite interesting to talk about. Tosis, thank you for the 25 months.
Be 40 if you've got like a really big base.
I feel like I'm just a WoW player. I've been majorly playing Classic, to be fair, I will say that. But I just like WoW. I think WoW is great.
So it's you, 4 of your friends, a bunch of NPCs, archers, catapults, whatever. 40 enemy players are running.
I'm not saying you're not allowed to have an opinion. I'm saying you can't have a strong opinion if you're not a retail Andy. That's all. Of course I can have a strong opinion. No, I can have a strong opinion about it still, right?
At you like
just like someone that doesn't really play Classic but have played it once in a while, they can still have a strong opinion about Classic WoW, and they can disagree with something. I think, and we cannot be, you know, we're not being agreeing about that, but doesn't mean that they can't have a strong opinion about it. That's fine to have.
Entire like horde team of Ultric Valley. Oh my goodness, and your NPCs are shooting catapults.
Sorry, I got a little bit sidetracked.
And it would be very cool to see how people would construct their home to really defend against this mass of players seeking to run in there and maybe burn down your primary like town hall or your primary little house and then win the game. I think though that players, if you're doing PvP, players can't permanently destroy your structures.
Roasting, we're just talking.
It's fine. But monsters that you have attack your structures, they can do it. So you're kind of you know, PvP is a bit more fun. PvE is a little bit more of like the real challenge, I guess. So that's just an idea. Crazy idea, but you know, if you're gonna put player housing into World of Warcraft, you gotta bring the war and the craft, you know, into the player housing experience.
I don't know if you would have to do that personally, but it's just different people for different things, right? Okay, one final thing about this discussion, and I'll move on with the video here. I will give you an example. I used to hate retail being a Classic Andy, but when I actually tried it, I never went back. It's much better game, in my opinion, always. Yeah, that's okay. That's your opinion. Yeah, that's fine.
And so this is what I was hoping Garrisons could be one day. So maybe we'll see something like it. Probably not, but we'll see. Okay.
I think people are way too torn up with... Okay, this is not what we're supposed to be talking about in this video, but people are way too torn about splitting the community. You are a Classic player. You're not a retail player. Don't come to my game, right? Or you're a retail player. Don't come to Classic. We're only Classic Andys here. No, you play wherever you want, man. Play some retail. Hell yeah. Do some keys. Do some new, do some world quests. Do some Mythic Plus. New raids. Okay, go to Classic. Do Sunken Temple. You know, try out the new runes and Sod. Play some Era, right? Doesn't matter. You can enjoy both games. I think that's fine. Yen Furion, thank you for the Prime.
And then finally, now we've arrived to my third idea. My third idea is very simple. Okay. The last two were kind of complicated.
Yeah.
Here's my third one.
Let's see the final one.
Simply add more RPG elements into the damn game.
More RPG.
This is an MMO RPG, damn it. Like this is a game that's supposed to be based off of like D&D, single player RPGs. It's just a massively multiplayer version of it. You've got to have the RPG elements in World of Warcraft, even if
I think a lot of the RPG stuff is stuff that you actually do yourself with the players, though. I feel like that's where it comes in, though, right? Like, you know, if you want to do it, you play in a roleplay server, and then you can do a lot more of that. But maybe he means like kind of like forced RP and like in terms of the lore and the quests and stuff.
People don't use it, so here's my ideas. Number one, Just simply being able to dye your gear different colors.
Oh.
Great, awesome. You can make your character really look how you want them to look. More cosmetic items like scrolls that you can like open and read. Magical effects that your character can do. Like they can, I don't know, like wave their hands and it like creates like a sparkle effect in the air. There's little things like that. The ability for your character to actually...
Dude, I was just about to say, I saw you typed it in the chat right there, Donata. Final Fantasy's like glamour, whatever, transmog is actually really sick.
Kneel down and feed your pet as a hunter.
It's actually really
pet
cool.
Them. You can play fetch with them or frisbee or something. Add more things like that. Of course, we need to have a bard profession, dude. I've talked about this bard profession in so many videos. Bard profession. You sit, you play musical instruments just like in Lord of the Rings Online. You can create your own custom music. Players that right-click your portrait and select listen. You will sit down, you'll listen to the bard playing his music. The longer that you sit there, you'll watch your rested experience bar slowly going up. It's so genius. I'm surprised Blizzard hasn't done it. It would add such a cool social element to the game in the Inns of Azeroth. Just put in a stupid bard profession. Like
Nixium is very... He likes roleplay, like very, very heavily. So I can see, I can understand why he would want this kind of stuff, right?
It's long overdue. So many MMOs have this, and it's freaking awesome. Like, just add it into World of Warcraft already. Next, I would love if they added just a big empty text space on your character page in-game. This is a thing that you can tab into it. You can use this big empty text box to explain your character, their alignment, where they're from, you know, if you're a big role player. If you're not a role player, you're like a PvP player, you can write in here like, hey, I'm a PvP guy, I'm looking for this kind of person to maybe do some 2s or 5s with or something. You can write out what kind of player you are, what you're interested in. Hey, I love Dungeons and Dragons behind the scenes. I right click you.
There's an add-on for that.
This guy really likes Dungeons and Dragons. I'm gonna hit this guy up and be like, oh, you know, you also like D&D? Oh, are you playing a campaign right now? You know, just a way to kind of introduce yourself a little bit to other people if you're not a role player. Anyway, I would also say that this big text box should be very customizable. You can put little icons in there.
Dude, this is just Final Fantasy, like their, what is it called? Their little portraits or whatever that they have.
Sparkles and bullet points and stuff. Don't just make it like a text box.
But there's communities for that,
you can put like, you know, page breaks, borders and stuff. Like, make it customizable. Make it cool. And finally, and dude, I could go on forever with stuff like this, because there's so much that you could add. Like, you know, the sky's the limit. But even something very simple, like just your ability to walk your mount. Like, you summon your mount, but instead of being on the mount, you're just walking beside it, holding its reins as you're just walking along or running along the path. And then at any point, you could just like right-click your mount. It's that little hop-on, you know, icon, that little green hop-on thing. And you just
this wouldn't really do much for me personally. I mean, if people want that,
walk with mount or summon mount, whatever you want. Just little things like that. That'd be really cool. Just add a little bit more RPG roleplay-ish stuff to the game. You can even make this collectible, Blizzard. Like collectible little things. Like, oh, you finished the Darrowshire quest line. You know, you helped.
Okay, I think he's more talking about like fun additions he would like to have in the game. I was thinking in terms of fixing World of Warcraft. I was thinking, okay, PvP, PvE, like what would we do to the systems? I like his first take on the fixing early game, because that was more of like a, okay, how would we introduce players better to the game, right? That was a fun discussion. I don't know, but I feel like for me, okay, I'll finish the video, then I'll give my final thoughts on it, I guess.
Or whatever. Well, now your character has like this cradle emote where you can like put like a pet or something, and you're like cradling your pet in your arms or something, just walking around like this. I don't know. There's a lot you can do, Blizzard. There's a lot. So anyway, so those are my three ideas, everybody. 3 ideas that I think would be cool if it was added to World of Warcraft. I apologize if I rambled a bit. I did my best to explain. But yeah, those are my thoughts. And if you guys have any ideas yourself that you want to contribute to the big idea pool, by all means, throw them out there, dude. Other than that, thank you to the channel members. As always, check out the new merchandise over on the Nixium store, link down below in the description, and I'll see you guys with my next video.
I think Nixium and Index would get along very well, but regardless, I think, for me personally, I mentioned this a little bit throughout the video when we were talking about it, I think just, in terms of fixing the game, I do think that the early game player experience should have a little bit of a different way of doing it, but I think they are doing that by introducing you just to the newest expansion and the current WoW that you're about to play, instead of throwing you into 15 billion different lore, like things that new players probably don't care much about. And it's just making sure the world feels fun. Do make sure the raids are enjoyable, good PvP, good dungeons, and maybe have some sort of a solo challenge that you can do whenever you feel like it. And I feel like then you got a pretty good game. And it looks like War Within is turning out pretty well so far, but we'll see, I guess. You and Aspen need to team up with a few others and make a roundtable discussion. The lore needs some fixing, IMO. I would like to focus on the World of Warcraft like the old world. Update for Cataclysm, but give it an option to explore Cata zones if one wishes. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. It was an interesting video, though. It was an interesting video. Interesting take as well. I feel Nixon is kind of out of touch with WoW. He's kind of been like that for years now. What he wants is not what needed. I think he really wants a... He likes role-play games a lot, right? And current WoW just is not much of a role-play game in that sense. You can still do role-play, like, you know, on certain servers and then still have that feeling. But a lot of people don't play it for, like, the heavy role-play aspect, right?